Melinda's Garden Moments help gardeners create and maintain a healthy, beautiful garden with ease, inside or out, and all year long. This is Melinda Myers, inviting you to tune in every weekday morning, right here on WHAV. You'll learn creative ways to grow your own vegetables and herbs while beautifying your landscape. Eco-friendly lawn care, flower garden design basics, unique container gardens, attracting birds and butterflies to the landscape, and much more. Again, please join me weekday mornings for Melinda's Garden Moment for a very environmentally friendly approach to gardening. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. We're looking for increasing clouds headed through the night with a temperature down in the low 50s. We're going to go into Tuesday with cloudy skies, scattered showers. Still, though, it's going to be mild, even though we're not expecting any sunshine, a high of 70. Scattered showers will continue through Tuesday night with a low in the upper 50s. And then on Wednesday, showers will be ending. We'll get some afternoon sun. It'll be breezy, continued mild with a high in the low 70s. Mostly sunny and cooler Thursday with a high in the low 60s. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Coco, and you're tuned correctly for the Open Mic Show. In Master Control is Nathan E. Webster III. I think we have an exciting program tonight, and those of you who are enthusiasts, or at least remember the iconic yellow checker cab, well, we have a treat for you tonight. Steve Contarino is going to be on the program to talk about his new venture, the Checker Motor Car division of Adamson Industries. They're based right here in Haverhill. Steve will be on just after the news at 7:05. We have some nice fun photographs of checker cabs, and we'll go through those as the night progresses. You can listen and watch the Open Mic Show at WHAV.tv on your computer or smartphone. You can also watch on Haverhill Community Television, Channel 22. You can listen to WHAV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at WHAV.net, again on your computer or smartphone, on AM radio 1640, and cable television, usually the audio behind those message boards, and over Channel 8, Haverhill Channel 22, Methuen Channels 8 and 22 on Comcast, Channel 32 on Verizon Fios, Plasto Channel 17 and 23, Sandown, New Hampshire also on Channel 17. All right, we're working to clear the message board, so if you'd like to be in contact with the program tonight and you're shy about using a telephone, you can use the message board at WHAV.tv. It's below the television picture. And you can also email me directly at tcoco, T-C-O-C-O, at WHAV.net. But in order to win a prize, you must always call. And that number, 978-374-1900. Okay, let's see. We had some, I think the message board is clear, but we'll take a look at that in a moment. As I look at two different computer screens, Nate is giving me the password to our network, which for some reason my laptop became disconnected from. All right, let's start out with the prizes. Here we are in October, and that means we're taking November birthdays and anniversaries. All you have to do is wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary. Your name will be placed into the prize hat, and we'll announce that the last Monday of this month. So November, birthdays and anniversaries, we will provide a cake from LBD's second-generation Italian bakery right here at 140 South Main Street on the Bradford side of the river. Now, LBD's is very generous. They're providing a 7-inch cake, your choice of chocolate or vanilla. And all you have to do is once your name is called, you'll receive a letter in the mail from WHAV. And I think there's probably one or two outstanding. We'll work on those. And then you get the cake and enjoy. Now, don't be shy. We had a person wish himself a happy birthday last week, and you can do the same. You can do that. And or if you want, name a neighbor, a friend, a coworker, and just make sure they share with you the delicious cake from LBD's second-generation Italian bakery. All right. Now, we don't have... well, I will say we can offer a free pass to the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace. The birthplace now closes in about 3 weeks for the season. So if you want to work in a nice fall farm tour, all you have to do is ask. Just call 978-374-1900. Go on the air. That's the condition for winning a prize. And ask. You'll be able to visit the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace, a 70-acre farm that was once owned and was the birthplace of poet John Greenleaf Whittier. All right, those are the big things. We're going to have largely open lines tonight, but again, if you're just tuning in, Steve Contarino will be here at 7:05 or so to discuss his new Checker Motor Car division, and we'll be discussing the Venerable Checker Cab. And Contarino said, this is on WHAV.net right now if you want a sneak preview on WHAV News. He aims to make collecting and owning a piece of automobile history exciting and rewarding. So you might very well enjoy that. And let's see. I normally would do a trivia question, but I think it's going to be right on our screen. So I will say that I think the last Checker Cab to roll off the assembly line was in 1982. Steve will certainly help us with that information. All right. What about items in the news? Well, what do you think? Now, if you maybe you're not aware of it, but you can go to WHAV.net, the most comprehensive local news available, and see some of the items we'll discuss. Let's just take them in no particular order. What do you think of the new facade at the Haverhill Citizen Center? Worth $1 million? I think that's what the price is, maybe just a little under. I think it looks pretty good. Always wondering about these costs, but there you go. And then, of course, the city could get about that much money over 10 years for allowing a digital billboard to go up on 495. WHAV describes it as a trade. The scenic vista on 495 near the Merrimack River, or the money the city will receive. Well, maybe it washes with the Citizen Center. All right. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Good evening, Tim. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Jerry?
I'm very good, but I'm really little concerned. As you know, I was involved in a situation, with the red tide and shellfish, and honest to God, we had a plan in place to, take care of that problem, and as a result of that, it makes me kind of concerned that you have a group of scientists that are saying that we're ready for Ebola, and then we have another group of learned people, scientists, PhDs, doctors, who say no, we're not ready, and we're not taking the right steps. And I tend to agree with the naysayers, really.
All right. what would you recommend, or what would have been the course of action years ago?
Well, years ago, first of all, it seems to me that, number one, it's kind of tough to say what might have happened, but years ago, we didn't have to have serums and things like that. There was nothing ready. Everything was in the design phase, or whatever you want to call it. In other words, we didn't have any vaccine ready. We don't have any vaccine ready. In fact, they've run out of it all. But the thing that I would do is at least quarantine. Think of when our forefathers came to this country from overseas. Weren't they put into quarantine?
Actually, Haverhill for many years had a contagious hospital. Maybe there was one in Lawrence and Methuen too. I don't know.
I think when they got off the boat, they went into quarantine.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right off,
exactly. I mean, in addition to that, they had to have a benefactor in the United States, and they had almost to have a place to stay, and they also had to have some kind of a job lined up.
Oh yes.
And they came, but they get off the boat. They were in quarantine for a period of time. So it almost seems like that's what we have to have.
Well, I heard something today on another talk show on this station with Tom Hartman that the Ebola patient that's in the United States actually
not doing well.
Yeah, actually had to lie to get here because his options were to die where he was or lie and come to the United States.
Yeah.
So maybe that's closer to what you're saying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So analogous to the paralytic shellfish poison issue, I remember getting a meeting. I interrupted the commissioner and my boss. I says, we have they said, what are you interrupting our meeting for? And I says, we have a paralytic shellfish poison problem. So immediately, his name was Bicknell. Wild Bill, they called him.
Really?
Immediately what he did was he says, okay, the borders of New Hampshire and Rhode Island, everything is closed. There'll be no harvesting of shellfish, period. That was it. And then he turned to the head of the Food and Drug. I want you to go into all the stores and confiscate everything, all the shellfish, confiscate everything. There'll be no digging, there'll be no harvesting, there'll be no transfer of shellfish to other states, period. And that's why we looked at immediately, because what was happening, we were getting 5 cases, 10 cases, 15, 20 cases. It was up to 20-some-odd cases. People were in iron, several patients were in iron lungs. As soon as that action was taken, it went from the logarithmic to the curve flattened out. In other words, if you look at a plot of the incidence of illnesses, in an epidemic situation, the numbers go straight up.
So you're
and then
saying
they get to a point where whatever actions you've taken, they stop and they go parallel. In other words, they go perpendicular and then to the right, then parallel.
So you're drawing, speaking of parallels, you're drawing a parallel between how when you work for the Department of Environmental Protection, was able
and that's
to...
Well, I would do it. I would put a quarantine on all the people coming in. I would I would require people who wanted to go there that they be immunized first. In other words, contain it. And
is there a preventative for Ebola?
No, there isn't really. It's in the development stage. The only thing that has helped so far in 3 patients, including 3 patients of the 3, what's called the serum. In the old days, for example, we had major problems with scarlet fever, diphtheria.
Yes.
And what they used to do is they would inject animals. Like there was a place that Shattuck up in, it's called Shattuck Laboratories, I think. It's run by the Department of Public Health, and they had actually horses, and they would inject the horses and produce a serum which contained the antibodies which are the bad guys. You know, you have what's called an antibody and an antigen. The antibody is the bad guy, and the antigen is the one that combats the antibody. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, I don't think we were prepared. And
now, do you think it could be? Do you think it could be that the folks at Centers for Disease Control thought, "Oh, that's not our problem. That's in some poor country far away"?
It sounds very likely that might have been it. You know, what happened was, I think, can you recall, Tim, in the 80s, there was a situation where they were developing a vaccine for Ebola, and in down south someplace, and they were using monkeys, and I believe one of the scientists came down with it. I seem to think that in the 80s.
I don't know that I remember
and then
that.
they euthanized all the monkeys that they were using for testing, and all the animal rights people, came out, and it was. But I think that this situation called for bold decisions, not political decisions. For example, if you shut down air traffic in and out, well, the airline industry is going to be upset. If you stop the religious from going in and out like they have been, then you're going to alienate people there. I don't know. I think I'd be more inclined to move towards almost, helping how we can by immunizing. There should be priorities. If you're going over there to help the people, it seems to me like that you should be immunized, not only for yourself, but look at the impact on your family.
Oh,
look
sure.
at that woman. Her husband died now, and she's got 2 children, and it seems like ethically you shouldn't be putting yourself in harm's way, and the only way that you could is be immunized before you go.
Right.
I don't know.
Now, there was I guess there was a suspected case in Worcester that turned out not to be Ebola. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
but
It takes 21 days. 21 days to determine whether you got it or not got it.
But a few years ago we were preparing for the bird flu that I guess never really came about. So I wonder how we make these educated guesses about which ones to prepare for.
I always say, and I was taught since I started to work for, originally my agency was part of the Department of Public Health. I always was taught that you err on the side of public health.
All right.
And then the other thing is when I'm not ashamed to say it, but when I took these logic and epistemology and ontology courses at Merrimack College, one of the things they taught us is that you don't put yourself in harm's way because you do have, in many cases, responsibilities, to your family, your children, etc. So I think I would be a bit of an isolationist. I would continue to, it's about time that some of these countries who exploited this area for so many years, the guy's got a name, his name is Duncan. It almost seems to me like Nigeria must have been under the protection of the English crown. Is that so, Tim?
Yeah, actually, well, the English crown controlled quite a bit. That's a good question. I don't know too much about
the Dutch were in Guinea, correct?
Right, and then of course the Portuguese had some territories. The French had some. Matter of fact, if you want to really take it to a bit of a stretch, you can trace almost all of the world's disputes today to colonialism.
Yeah.
I mean, the Middle East was
here in the United States, for example.
Yeah. Well, that's right.
Don't shoot Bunker Hill. Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes.
Yeah, well, that may be what a philosophy that we might stick with. I don't know.
The other thing was that as I say, moving in and out, the quarantines. I think I would be a bit of an isolationist in this particular situation. Oh, the other thing. Eventually, they're going to solve it, and you know why?
Why is that?
Nigeria is the 14th greatest resource for oil.
Oh, right. Also
Oil
seems to
and
be a good place
hydrocarbon.
for email spam.
Pardon?
It also seems to be a place where all this email spam is generated.
Yeah. That's right. You're right.
But
Well, thank you very much.
well, no, thank you very much for calling. Now, you're calling early tonight. You're something else coming up on television?
No, not really much. I thought I'd try to get this off my chest because it's been bothering me for about a week now, at least a week. I'm just thinking of the United States primarily, and these people who are losing loved ones, and in addition to that, the whole culture over there is so different, and it's so prone to infectious diseases. For example, they eat monkey meat. Some of these people, certain cults, and monkeys are one of the primary hosts of this disease. That and rats and bats and animals, and sanitary conditions are so bad. I mean, they don't have wastewater treatment plants. They don't have drinking water.
I just looked this up. So Nigeria won its independence from the United Kingdom only in 1960.
Wow.
So you'd think it would be a little more developed by now. But, Jerry, I do thank you for your call. We have to take a brief break to work something in.
I hope some of you, your listeners, you have some very educated listeners, and I'm sure that I'd like to hear what they might say about it.
All right, that's a good... Matter of fact, it may be another thing we add to our topic list to bring in some healthcare workers soon.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jerry. Really appreciate your call.
Thank you, Tim.
Good night. All right, we have to take a brief break for, I believe we have a moment in Massachusetts history, this day in Massachusetts history. And then we'll be right back after that. And if you're just tuning in, don't forget Steve Contarino from the Checker Motor Car division of Adamson Industries in Haverhill, right here in Haverhill. It's going to be on the program just after the news to discuss the Venerable Checker Cab. We'll be back in just a minute.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Phil Christie here. Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Catch the wave.
This is Tom Hartman inviting you to tune in to the Tom Hartman program on WHAV every weekday beginning at 3. I'll be here 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, taking your calls live. We'll tackle critical issues that impact working people at home, on the job, and throughout society. The Tom Hartman program is your media support group for We the People. Again, please join me weekdays beginning at 3 right here on WHAV. Remember, only local radio can bring you this progressive talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Today is October 6th. On this day in 1928, after a bitter 6-month strike, the members of New Bedford's Textile Council voted to accept a compromise offer. Faced with overproduction and falling profits, the mill owners had imposed a 10% pay cut. Both the moderate Textile Council, to which skilled mill workers belonged, and the radical Textile Mill Committee, which included many unskilled immigrant laborers, responded by going out on strike. At first, the strike felt like a holiday, but as the months passed and strikers faced a hungry winter, pressure increased to settle. In late September, the mill owners proposed a 5% cut. Although only members of the Textile Committee were permitted to cast votes, their acceptance of the deal ended the strike. For more about this and other Mass Moments, go online to massmoments.org. Brought to you by the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. I'm Tim Coco in the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom. Nathan E. Webster III is in master control. Now, if you just joining the program, first of all, let me tell you that Steve Contarino is in the building, and he'll be on the show right after the news at about 7:05 p.m., assuming I can stick to my schedule tonight. And we're going to learn more about the Venerable Checker Cab, and there's some really big news for enthusiasts, and we appreciate that Steve came with rather little notice, as tends to be the case with live radio. David Goudswood on the chat board, I guess as I was looking it up, he was checking his references. And yes, October 1st, 1960, Nigeria gained its independence from the United Kingdom. And Jerry, who is WHAV's environmental consultant, was just on the phone raising some concern that the United States is not properly ready for a disease like Ebola. And Jerry said that when he worked for the State Department of Environmental Protection, they were able to immediately dent illnesses by quarantining. For example, he mentioned red tide and the shellfish contamination, how they immediately closed the beaches, stopped the clam digging, and actually remove product from the shelves. Is there an equivalent in dealing with diseases like Ebola? That remains to be seen. Those of you who like to keep up with the news, you'll undoubtedly notice quite a bit of information at the revamped WHAV website at whav.net. And let's just look at a couple of headlines, and this might be some fodder for discussion later tonight. But there seems to be a big brouhaha involving the former Haverhill paperboard site. Brian Wilson, whose company Pentucket LLC owns the property. They bought it for $1 from the Newark Group that owned the paperboard. Now that $1 is a little bit misleading because he spent almost $1 million cleaning it up to date. Well, it seems that he's a little upset that City Hall isn't talking to him. He's planning a solar farm that would generate electricity that could be sold, if the city accepted, could be sold to the wastewater treatment plant adjacent to the land in Bradford. He says that would save the city $7-8 million over a specified period of time in electricity costs. But he says the city is talking to someone else who claims to be an owner. All guesses are that someone else is Fort Point Development. And Fort Point, their attorney commented on WHAV today that they had a purchase and sale agreement, and they want to buy that land. Brian Wilson is saying that agreement is void because Fort Point didn't keep up with the conditions. So Mayor Fiorentini quoted by email and in other forms saying that he'll wait to see who the owner is, or who the court decides the owner is, before getting involved. But the mayor did point out in an email that the site is not zoned for a solar farm. Solar farm being all those electric panels. Brian Wilson counters again that, well, you cannot prohibit them. So it's a tit for tat. Maybe you have some thoughts on that. But first, we're going to go to local news with News Director Dana Esmel, national news from FSN. We'll have Nate Webster's NASCAR race recap. And then Steve Contarino will be on the show to discuss Checker Cabs. We're going to have a lot of fun, and the time flies, so stay right there. We'll be right back.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:02.
WHAV Merrimack Valley. WHAV is a not-for-profit service of Public Media of New England Incorporated. It's heard on 1640 AM, the web, at whav.net, and participating cable television stations.
Story News in Washington. I'm Rebecca Foster. U.S.-led coalition airstrikes against Islamic State fighters have failed to stop the militants' advance on the Syria-Turkey border town of Kobani. Reports say an ISIS flag is now flying outside the city center, where Kurdish forces have been engaged in fierce fighting with the well-armed jihadists. Reporter Hannah Lucinda Smith of the Times newspaper in Britain is on the Turkey-Iraq border.
That follows a really heavy night of gunfighting last night. Also, the town is still coming under attack from artillery. The Islamic State has positions to the east, to the south and the west of Kobani. And of course, the town is bordered by the Turkish border on the northern side.
The U.S. Supreme Court has decided against hearing the appeals by 5 states to overturn the legalization of gay marriage. And that means that effectively same-sex marriage will be legal in 30 American states. U.S. correspondent Priscilla Huff reports.
The U.S. Supreme Court will not hear 5 appeals cases which apply to 11 states. Lower federal courts had ruled that same-sex couples have the same fundamental and constitutional right to marry. The cases were appealed to the nation's highest court, but the 9 justices turned them down, which means the lower court rulings stand, effectively legalizing same-sex marriage in 11 states, bringing the total to 30 of 50 American states. The U.S. Supreme Court issued their decision without explanation, surprising many. It appears America's highest court is just going to allow same-sex marriage to become the law of the land without the justices getting actively involved. Priscilla Huff, Washington.
A teenager in the U.S. city of Chicago has been arrested after he allegedly attempted to leave the U.S. to join the ranks of Islamic State fighters. Mohammed Khan was arrested at O'Hare International Airport and charged with attempting to provide material support to a terrorist organization. Kevin McAleese has more.
The White House initially said it wasn't aware of the arrest of 19-year-old Mr. Khan, who was held by Chicago's FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force on Saturday. As he appeared before a federal court, prosecutors said the Illinois teen had booked a flight to Istanbul in a bid to join up with ISIS militants in Syria or Iraq. Security experts believe dozens of U.S. citizens may already be fighting alongside the Sunni extremists. If found guilty, Khan could face up to 15 years in prison. Kevin McAleese, Washington.
Presidential elections in Brazil are advancing to a second round after a close vote between left-wing incumbent Dilma Rousseff and her challenger, Senator Aécio Neves. Analysts say Brazil's economic struggles are driving many voters. For the rest of the day's news, you can follow us on Twitter at Feature Story or check out our website at featurestorynews.com. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Here's what's happening in local news. Lawyers for the owner of the former Haverhill paperboard property are demanding the city identify anyone else claiming to own its land. They also say their plans for a solar power farm are illegally restricted by the city. In a 33-page package sent to WHAV Sunday, developer Pentucket LLC decided to take its case to the media since learning from city purchasing agent Orlando Pacheco Quote, the city appears to be discussing redevelopment options on the property with another owner, end quote. Despite ongoing legal actions between two would-be developers of the former Haverhill paperboard property, the land is listed for sale for $2 million. Pentucket LLC, which purchased the property for $1 at the end of 2011, is resisting claims on the property by Fort Point Development LLC. Brian Wilson of Salem, Massachusetts, has listed 23 acres of riverfront land along the Merrimack River for sale along with an adjacent 35 acres. Wilson heads up Pentucket LLC, a unit of Barrow Development of Boston. Earlier this year, Fort Point won an appeal in Superior Court to pursue its claims. Its action was originally denied by Superior Court Judge Paul E. Troy, who has since retired. Meanwhile, Barrow Development is proposing a solar power farm and public park at the site. Wilson said Sunday Fort Point expressed interest in building housing at the paperboard site, but also claims it deserves a lower purchase price because of potential pollution at the site. Dynamic Energy plans to build a solar farm that would supply energy to the city's wastewater treatment plant and save the city an estimated $7.6 to $8.3 million over 20 years. However, Wilson says the city is violating state law by prohibiting solar energy projects in its waterfront zoning district overlay. An attorney for Fort Point did not respond to requests for comment by deadline. For further details, visit whav.net. Haverhill police arrested a man early Saturday on burglary and vandalism charges as the result of an incident on Locust Street. Haverhill police report 44-year-old Robert J. Zewell, listed as homeless, was arrested at 12:30 a.m. Saturday on charges of malicious damage less than $250 and breaking and entering. No further details are available. In sports, WHAV's Nate Webster has this week's NASCAR race recap.
Joey Logano picks up his fifth win of the year at Kansas Motor Speedway. He locks himself into the next round of the chase. This is his second win in the chase, giving Team Penske a leg up on the competition. Joey talks about his day and how it feels to move on to the next round.
This is nice to be able to get this win and get us through the next round, and not have to worry about Talladega coming up. This was important. We can't win the championship today, but we can definitely lose it. So we had to get two solid finishes with Kansas and Charlotte before Talladega, and this is as solid as it gets. So we're excited about our shot to win this championship this year. We just got to keep doing what we've been doing.
The one of Jamie McMurray takes the lead from Kevin Harvick, but would have problems later in the race in the last 10 laps. The two-car Brad Keselowski has a slow 14-second pit stop, and Logano loses 7 spots on the restart, taking 4 tires. He would take 2 tires on the final stop and keep the lead. Jeff Gordon wiggles off turn 4 with the one of McMurray. The Hendrick driver was not the only one with issues. Both Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. would suffer right front tire issues. Johnson would tangle with Greg Biffle, sending him into the inside wall, also collecting the 51 of Justin Allgaier as drivers get bottled up on the restart. Nate Webster, WHAV Sports.
Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmel.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. We're looking for increasing clouds headed through the night with a temperature down in the low 50s. We're going to go into Tuesday with cloudy skies, scattered showers. Still, though, it's going to be mild, even though we're not expecting any sunshine, a high of 70. Scattered showers will continue through Tuesday night with a low in the upper 50s. And then on Wednesday, showers will be ending. We'll get some afternoon sun. It'll be breezy, continued mild with a high in the low 70s. Mostly sunny and cooler Thursday with a high in the low 60s. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
For live and local talk, listen to the Open Mic Show, Monday nights. You can also see the program at www.whav.tv. Only local radio can bring you this talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Catch the wave, WHAV, Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. This hour of the Open Mic Show is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. And you know, our sponsor had a little bit to do with our guest tonight, in as much as our sponsor brought it to our attention that there was a news item on the wires about what will become or is the Checker Motor Car division of Adamson Industries of Haverhill. So welcome, Steve Contarino, to the program.
Well, thank you, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be a part of something happening here in Haverhill.
No, it was certainly a treat, and our regular listeners know how much I like history. Matter of fact, we have something called the Haverhill Heritage Series, and this might very well fit that niche. But let's start with the most current news. You've started something called the Checker Motor Car division, and it's a division of your existing firm that you and your wife started in, 1984?
Yes, sir.
Adamson Industries, and we're going to spend some time on that, too. But let's talk about, what are you doing? Look at this, folks. Look at this.
It's a Checker Cab.
It's a Checker Cab.
Yeah. What we're
and
doing?
The doors open.
Yeah, the doors open too. Yeah, there you go. Well, what we're doing is we're actually supporting the hobby and supporting a real demand for the iconic Checker automobile. Not all of them were cabs. As a matter of fact, Checker was responsible for manufacturing some luxurious limousines. So they really went across the gamut as a utilitarian vehicle, right up into a fancy luxury car, if you will.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Now, obviously, this didn't just occur to you overnight. You must have been a long-time enthusiast.
Well, I've been an auto enthusiast, almost all my life, because if I say all my life, it would end here. But no, I'm almost all my life.
Maybe
so
listen for the rest
of yeah, so almost all my life, and if it had wheels, I was always interested in it. And when I was young, my dad drove a taxi in the city of Lawrence, and
image on the screen.
Oh yeah, there it is, the taxi, and the last one too, right there, which is still in existence, the last one they made. And, I always thought that look was just beefy and rugged looking, and it kind of stuck with me. And, it was kind of something you see, Checker, well, what's that? And it stuck with me, throughout my whole life. I've always been a car collector. I started with the little ones like you have right here, and I've gone right up into the real high-end stuff too. So, Checker happened to be something I was awful fond of, and I haven't actually collected Checkers for more than 10 years, but I started, probably about 8 years ago, and I realized there's a need.
So do you own one? More than one?
Mrs. Contarino is listening, so the number is higher than 25 at this point.
You have more than 25 Checker cabs.
I do, and while they're not all cabs,
they're not all cabs.
They're not all. Some are aero buses, which are the 8-door limousines, which used to carry military troops and from hotels and whatnot as well. So they're not just 4-door. Some of them are 6 and 8-door.
Wow. Now, you're going to do some kind of a grand opening later this month. Tell us something about that.
Yes, we are. We're going to do an open house, and we want to showcase some of the vehicles that are found at our website that we've restored. We've actually restored quite a few of them through the years, and I didn't know I could make a business of it. It was kind of, a hobby thing. We restored a few of them, and then before you knew it, I found out we were the only ones in the world doing this. Not the U.S., the world. So that was something that we felt, there's an opportunity. These vehicles are in Australia, they're in England, they're in Germany. They're something that we still are a part of American history. They're iconic. And when you say the word venerable, that's absolutely true.
No, actually, I was trying to match your good word, iconic. And I even used it in the story today, iconic, but then I thought of venerable. I'll tell you what, we have to take a brief break for Community Spotlight, but we'll be right back to talk much more about perhaps how someone can own their own checker. Is that right?
That's right.
We'll be right back.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Still not sure when your favorite features are broadcast? Check out the What's On page at www.whav.net for complete listings.
Community Spotlight.
The Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce is hosting a 2014 Holiday Pops concert. Performances by Keith Lockhart and the Boston Pops. The concert will be held Sunday, December 14th at 2:30 p.m. in the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. Prices are $85 per ticket. Seats are located in Balcony E. Tickets must be ordered by Monday, December 1st. For more information about the concert, call the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce or visit merrimackvalleychamber.com. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Martha Melendez.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show. This hour of the Open Mic Show is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. And here's a smart company that chose the Merrimack Valley. You started Adamson with your wife, Kim, in 1984?
Yes, we did.
No.
Right in the Merrimack Valley.
Were you always in the Broadway Business Park?
No, we actually started business on Merrimack Street in Methuen, right in Pleasant Valley.
Ah,
Yeah.
My ancestors on my father's side are from the Pleasant Valley.
Ah.
Very good. So let me accurately describe what you do now. You have 56,000 square foot facility. And I don't know if this was up to date, about 50 employees?
Yes, 50 employees, yeah.
And you outfit emergency vehicles?
Yes.
Or maybe
Yes.
tell us a little more about what that entails.
Well, we take what Ford, Dodge, and Chevrolet offers for they are heavy-duty platforms, they call them. And the reason they call them platforms is because they're not completed for use. So we actually take those vehicles and upfit them for public service use. So anything from a simple set of lights to data terminals, computers, all kind of equipment.
All right. And so you work with fire departments, ambulances, police,
You
sheriff?
name it. Yeah,
Wow.
all over the world. Yep.
All over the world?
All over the world, yes, sir.
Wow. So if the spotlights, the radios?
You name it.
I was taking a look at your website.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything I couldn't think of, so it seemed
Yeah.
like everything was there.
We do it all.
All right. Then at some point you got interested in checker cabs and found there was a need.
Yeah,
You weren't alone.
No, I wasn't alone. I've always been an automobile car nut. It goes back 20 plus years. I've collected all kind of automobiles from all over the world as well. But I've always been fond of Checkers. My dad, drove a cab in the city of Lawrence, and they picked up a Checker Cab. And when I first saw that, I thought that was a pretty neat vehicle. I said, "Wow, this thing looks like a tank."
Is that what started you?
That's what started it.
How long ago was that?
That was back probably in the late 70s or early 80s. So it's been a while. It's been on my mind, and then finally.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So you own quite a few of them. What can you do for someone, let's say Nate, also becomes an enthusiast, maybe already is, and says, "Gee, I'd love to get one of those, but I have nowhere to look. Do I look on eBay? What do I do?" How can you help him?
Well, there are a lot of Checker Cabs that are for sale across the world. And, what we take pride in is we make good cars, great cars. We're looking at, complete restorations. We have a lot of parts, a lot of new old stock parts. We're able to make those automobiles perfect. We do detail under the hood. We send them out and have them refinished, new interiors, all new weather stripping. I mean, you name it, it comes out really, really nice. It's just something that you don't have to worry about doing anything else to.
So if someone got one, and maybe you can help them get one.
I can.
You could refurbish it so that it was as good as new.
As good as new. And we have a few that are available on our website at checkermotorcars.com. And we're offering restoration services. We're offering parts and consulting as far as trying to help, whether it be a business for promotional reasons or someone that wants an automobile to be an enthusiast. We found that there really isn't a lot of outlets for that Checker automobile. So we're all about trying to offer support and making something that's fun more fun.
Great. Now, obviously you've done more research than I could have done today. So tell me about the history of the Checker Cab Company.
Well, Checker is it's got a long history, and some of the bullets of it are it was started in 1922 by two people. One person named Markin, and the other person named Hertz. And yes, it is that Hertz.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. And Hertz said, I don't really want to pick up people. I want to rent them the whole car. So he went his way, and lo and behold, created a franchise, if you will, or organization to rent automobiles. So in the early, 20, or I say mid to late 20s, Hertz separated and went his way, and Markin continued to manufacture purpose-built vehicles for transporting people.
Isn't that interesting? So, in a way, they're both sort of in the same place, but in different directions.
Exactly.
So Hertz went off to rent cars, and Markin went off to make them.
Yes, he did.
Which happened to be cars that, were they originally designed to be cabs, or were they just another model of car?
No, Checker always was built to for taxi service. They didn't change their thinking until 1959, and 1959 was when they actually changed the body style, and it stayed the same from 1959 to 1982. So yeah, that's exactly how they looked from 59 to 82. So a lot of the parts are similar, and that was the purpose of what Checker had in mind. They wanted it to be something where all the parts were interchangeable. So they chose a GM driveline, which is pretty common, and then they built from there up. So all of the sheet metal is their own, but the undercarriage and whatnot is all General Motors.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's an interesting. See, look at all the facts we're getting tonight. All right, and then because it looks like they started making 100 a month in Joliet, according to this information, and the first shipment of a checker from Kalamazoo was in 1923. They had 700 people then. What happened in '82? Was it just too competitive a market or too expensive to make them?
Well, Tim, I can't let you go by that because I got to talk about one little rumor because you didn't ask why did they go from Joliet to Kalamazoo. Now, I can't confirm this, so this is something for somebody to check out, but it said that Mark and the owner of Checker actually tangled a little bit with Al Capone.
Really?
And Kalamazoo was far enough to go where he was away from Illinois.
Safe?
Yeah. So,
Safer.
It's in a few books, but, I don't know about that
As
part
I said,
of it.
I couldn't possibly do the research you know in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and but at any rate, so Kalamazoo became the home of Checker, and Checker manufactured automobiles for luxury or cab use until 1982. What happened in 1982 was Chevrolet and Dodge and Ford and all of them, they were trying to get in that taxi business. And what was happening is, because of the low volumes of the Checker, they couldn't keep up with the federal mandates for safety. So things like airbags were coming. Checker was able to compete, in seatbelts and things of that nature. They put those big, heavy bumpers that you see on them to meet the 5-mile-an-hour bumper crash tests. But as far as the technology, they just did not have computers and things of that nature. So the sales were just too low. And
they're somewhat regulated out of business.
Exactly. And not only that, the prices started getting a little higher. So the cab operators felt they could buy a disposable car for a lot less money. And instead of keeping one for as long as they kept a Checker, they would buy a cheaper car and just get rid of it instead of keeping these Checkers, which went to 500,000 miles.
Now, according to the information that we put on our website today, you say only about 2,000 of these cars survive?
Yeah. When I originally said 2,000, I got a phone call from the Checker Club, and they said to me, Steve, and it was Jim Garrison, who's the current president. He says, where did you find 2,000 cars? I said, well, Jim, you know what? I said, since I've started my research, I said, everybody's got some in their backyard. I said, you say 600. I think there's more like 2,000. And the more I look, the more, you find them. So I definitely believe there's 2,000 of them left in the world. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I think you also note that these cars were made, I think your words are extreme duty.
Yes.
So,
yes.
250,000 when most people were throwing cars away at under 100,000.
Yeah.
250,000. What about, I'm assuming there are some with at least that much miles on it. All the parts can be repaired, replaced?
Well, the beauty of it is that's true. That's exactly what they were built for. They were built for ease of maintenance and ease of changing the wearing parts that are in them. So everything that would wear out is either available or, we're in a position where we have it. So there's not a lot of things that can wear out in them. There's a lot of little things that we're going to be manufacturing, but it's mostly, rubber seals and things like that, because Checker went out of business in '82, the new old stock got all dried up and the rubber cracked. So even if it's new, it wasn't good. So we have to make some of that. But, I think we can get there. I mean,
will you be supplying, the world market, or will you just be supplying the people who visit you?
No, I think if someone contacts us, we're going to sell parts. I mean, we've made friends with this two companies, or I shouldn't say companies, there's two enthusiasts who actually have a lot of parts, and we've been working with them. They're happy to see this because they don't want to see the Checker fade from, the world, and that's what's happening. You just couldn't get parts, so a lot of them sat behind buildings, and they faded away, and they are starting to fade away. I mean, you take a look at the numbers. 2,000 cars isn't that many. But
no, it's amazing.
Yeah,
and it's amazing you have as many as you have.
Yeah. And I've got some real unique ones. And you know, I again, I have to tell you the history. I have the first American-made diesel-powered automobile. Guess what kind it was?
I'm going to guess it's a Checker.
It was 1968, and I have
first
that.
diesel.
First diesel, American-made car with a diesel.
American-made with a diesel. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
All right. So, how can you? Well, first of all, how do people contact you, and how can you help them?
Well, we are just about through with our website. Right now, we just don't have the parts and loose goods available, but at checkermotorcars.com, we have all of the automobiles that have been through the restoration process. Some of the more unique ones are not up yet. We're just kind of waiting until we actually do our open house day. We're going to have some of the wearing parts up on the website. So it's all there. It's going to be at checkermotorcars.com. We're on our way out to Hershey tomorrow, so we're going to be at the Hershey Car Week. I was at Monterey handing out business cards and talking to some of the famous car people, Wayne Carini from F40 Motorsports and Chasing Classic Cars. He gave me the old thumbs up and said, hey, what a great idea. Barry Maguire from, Car Crazy and Maguire's Wax. He said, that's a great idea. So, when you hear that kind of thing, that's what kind of puts a little bit of fire in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So is this an open house to the public or just to select guests? Or what can we tell our listeners?
Well, what we'd like is we'd just like anybody who's interested in coming to send us an email through checkermotorcars.com and just let us know, and we'll kind of keep an eye on it. We just don't want it to get a little bigger than it needs to be. We have some very important people coming.
So 200,000 people showing up for donuts or something, it might just not be something you want.
Well, that happened at Tucker's first open house, and he got 200,000 people there. But, I think we kind of like to keep it somewhere a little under the 200,000 mark.
All right. So if they contact you through your website, which is checkermotors.com, checkermotorcars.com.
Yes.
They can send you an email, and I think that's how I contacted you.
Sure, yeah.
Send you an email, and then you can figure out what works best, and then you're planning a formal launch this month.
Yes.
And then I can't even think of all the cliches, but almost every old New York movie has one of these in it.
Certainly do. Certainly do.
You're going to be playing videos of them?
Well, funny that you say that. They really are in a lot of movies. They actually even made a movie about the Checker car factory with Richard Pryor. And right now, I can't remember the name of it, but it was filmed at the Checker Cab factory. So.
All right. Now I see also Checker merchandise. Is that things like this collectible?
Well, what we've done is we said, we wanna make this something that everybody can be a part of. If you don't own a car, maybe you want a shirt. If you don't own a car, maybe you want a little car, maybe you want some of the factory signs. So we've reproduced some of the factory signs. We want to make it fun. So one of the things that a lot of people do is they can't afford a Rolls Royce, so they buy the Rolls Royce sign. So we feel that that's a good way to get young people involved. We're always excited about giving tours of our plant before this, for the public service vehicles and any children that really wanted to come in and visit. Our doors are always open. We don't want 200,000 people, but we love to see young people get interested in things, especially when they're happening in Haverhill. So doors are always open. Drop us an email and
that will be great. So, folks, checkermotorcars.com. You'll learn more. I perused the site today. There's a lot there. It's a lot of fun, and it obviously motivated me to ask Steve to come in. And, Steve, I hope you'll keep us up to date on your progress.
You can count on it.
And you're welcome back on the Open Mic Show anytime, and we're always proud of, Haverhill boy that does good kind of thing.
Well, we're proud to be a part of Haverhill. Our facility employs a lot of local people, and we get some of our apprentices from Whittier. We get some from Greater Lawrence.
That's right. Nate had some questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
Do you hire local mechanics?
Absolutely.
All right. Do you do any outsourcing?
Well, right now we don't. But we're always looking for ideas. I mean, we're an idea-driven company, so whatever is approach to us, we'll take a good look at it.
Nate also said, how many different kinds of skills do you look for in workers?
Well, on our public service vehicle end, it's a little more complex, some of the wiring skills and whatnot. Checker Motors is a little less complex because, it's an older vehicle, so it's not that complicated. We're kind of right now, we're looking for people that are more interested in older type vehicles. They've got some knowledge of the older systems and whatnot. It's kind of as we go along, A
listener has a question for you. Can these refurbished checkers be fitted with airbags?
No, they can't. And the reason that they can't is because of one of the federal motor vehicle safety requirements that if we add airbags to a vehicle, then it has to be crash tested. So one big question that you didn't ask is, will you ever see a checker as an actual taxi cab? Well, that would have to take an exemption from the taxi commission or the taxi authority in whatever town or city that is because of the fact that the vehicle just won't have those safety features.
Oh, that's interesting. So in order to be used in those commercial services, they have to meet current requirements.
Right, but not for promotional vehicles. You see the duck tours. Well, we want to do checker taxi tours, and we want to do things like that. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we want to know all about it as it comes together. We really appreciate that you came on here with such little notice.
My
Wish
pleasure.
you the best of
luck.
My pleasure. And at some point, if it's okay with you, maybe we'll do a little video tour of your
Anytime. You're always welcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, folks. If you want to learn more about how you might be able to own your own checker or accessories, or if you have one, or if you need a broker to get one, or if you need an appraiser.
I'm all of it.
All of this is here, right here in Haverhill, folks. Go to checkermotorcars.com. And we're also going to keep you posted as we learn more. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show after local weather.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:39.
Phil Christie here. Still not sure when your favorite features are broadcast? Check out the What's On page at www.whav.net for complete listings.
Catch the wave!
Here! Don't forget your free ticket to the biggest theater in the world. Your seat is reserved for Modern Theater of the Mind every Tuesday night. WHAV presents Radio Theater Project, a new anthology series of comedies, dramas, mysteries, and science fiction. Tune in every Tuesday night at 10 p.m., or the encore performance at 1 a.m. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. We're looking for increasing clouds headed through the night with a temperature down in the low 50s. We're going to go into Tuesday with cloudy skies, scattered showers. Still, though, it's going to be mild, even though we're not expecting any sunshine, a high of 70. Scattered showers will continue through Tuesday night with a low in the upper 50s. And then on Wednesday, showers will be ending. We'll get some afternoon sun. It'll be breezy, continued mild with a high in the low 70s. Mostly sunny and cooler Thursday with a high in the low 60s. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
More of your soft gold favorites. Catch the wave, WHAV. Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents The Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
What a great treat that was. Steve Contarino with the new Checker Motor Car division of Adamson Industries Corporation of Haverhill. And that was just such a treat. You know, we love old things here on the Open Mic Show. You see a lot of old photographs. We have the Haverhill Heritage Series. If you look around our studios, you'll find a few antiques as well. And it's always fun. And what makes this even more interesting is that, the Venerable Checker Cab is alive and well in Haverhill, of all places. Every old New York movie, or with New York as a background, had a checker cab in it. And apparently, Mr. Contarino has at least 25 of these, and I think you might see more of them around now. So, folks, be sure to check out the website he gave us, checkermotorcars.com. All right, we're going to have open lines for the rest of the program. So we'd like you to become involved. This hour of the Open Mic Show is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. And we have some other fine sponsors who provide things to you. Check out LBD's Second Generation Italian Bakery, 140 South Main Street on the Bradford side of the river. But better yet, wish someone a happy birthday or a happy anniversary, or a couple of happy anniversary, and we could be sending a 7-inch cake, chocolate or vanilla, right off to them at the end of the month. So we're taking November birthdays and anniversaries. Go through your, I don't know who keeps Rolodexes, or your calendars, or the little yellow sheet of paper you keep in the bottom drawer. Find out whose birthdays and anniversaries are coming up in November. Call in 978-374-1900, and we'll take the name, put it in the hat, and draw it the last Monday of the month. And there's about 3 weeks left to Whittier Birthplace open for the season. This is a great time to visit the birthplace, and the first person who asks can have a free pass to the John Greenleaf Whittier Birthplace. Maybe I'm not very clear at times about how important the birthplace is to Haverhill. John Greenleaf Whittier is well known as a poet. He wrote famous poetry such as Snowbound, which will be celebrated again in the winter at the birthplace. But he also was a statesman. Few people know that he was a state representative from Haverhill. He's one of the founders of the then liberal Republican Party. He really hung around with some of the greats of the times, and really you couldn't find someone more important. And he was born right here in Haverhill. And 70 Acre Farm still exists here. It's open to the public, but you want a pass to go, call 978-374-1900. Okay, now, as a way of maybe starting you thinking about items we can discuss tonight, quite a bit of news at WHAV.net. Stories such as the new Checker Motor Car company right there on WHAV's homepage. But let's look at some other items in the news. The Haverhill Citizen Center, they're going to have a celebration with Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas. I think the feds put in about $200,000 into about $1 million project. That building was built at a strange time in Merrimack Valley, or maybe world history, and that is it was built during the slap 'em up with cheap materials and ugly materials era of the 1970s. So the Haverhill Citizen Center was built with federal money some time ago. The these concrete panels were discontinued a year after the building went up, and then the panels started falling off the building. Then it was covered up with this, that, and the other thing to keep the building somewhat dry. But nevertheless, all kinds of energy loss, so therefore the Citizen Center had to be reskinned, as we might say. Do you think it was worth it? Probably in the scope of things. Building, it seems like if a city sends something out to bid or a government sends something out to bid, it costs 3 times what you or I would pay if we owned similar properties, but I guess that's just the way of the world. Also in the news, we had the owner of the Haverhill Paperboard site doing a tit-for-tat with Haverhill Mayor James J. Fiorentini. Brian Wilson of his company is actually Barrow, B-A-R-R-O-W Development, and that development company actually just bought one of the Ford factories in Wixom and is redeveloping it. So it's not a small company. And he's taking the Haverhill Paperboard property under the name of Pentucket LLC, and it is listed for sale for $2 million. A company that wanted to buy it, Fort Point Development, which is associated with Hunneman Real Estate. Apparently something happened, the deal fell through, and both seem to have ownership claims. Brian Wilson says anyone else claiming to be the owner is committing fraud. Mayor Fiorentini, for his part, is saying, you know what, I'm going to wait until we figure out who wins this battle, and then we'll negotiate. Again, Brian Wilson says that he would like to put in solar panels to generate electricity and sell that electricity to the Haverhill wastewater treatment plant, which is adjacent, and that would save the city something like $8 million. Those are always estimates, and there's always a good question how cities and towns enter into these agreements. But it sounds good. Is it too good to be true? Well, no one knows because Wilson says the mayor isn't talking to him. Wilson also claims the mayor would prefer another use on that property and that solar panels are specifically prohibited. Again, this tit-for-tat email exchange where all of the city council was copied, the media was copied, our state senators and representatives were copied. Pretty big fallout over the weekend as a result. Most Haverhill City Councilors deciding to stay out of the fray and not get involved. Perhaps that's a good thing. It remains to be seen. But certainly always challenges for city government when you have this big open land. Both companies that either own it or want to own the property say the city will be getting a gift of some kind of land. That's actually another issue. But I'll tell you what, we should take a brief break, and then we're going to pick up with your phone calls in just a minute.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Phil Christie here. Those Boston stations don't always understand weather in the Merrimack Valley. Stay informed with Wave Weather every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day on Soft Gold, WHAV.
Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. They're attracted by the region's technology and innovation, housing and education, workforce, arts, culture, and recreation, and convenient location and easy access. Learn more and look at profiles of all 24 cities and towns at the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council website at merrimackvalley.info.
Catch the wave!
Those political sound bites you hear on the news are, at best, incomplete and could be misleading or even outright lies. This is David Pakman. Take time to delve into the truth by listening to The David Pakman Show, Tuesday through Friday nights at 8 on WHAV. Lack of logic and reason are exposed on The David Pakman Show as newsmakers collapse under cross-examination. Remember, only local radio can bring you this talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Kim Lowe. This week, a star is born in this well-written crime drama. It's probably impossible to review The Drop and not mention that this is the last performance of the late, great James Gandolfini. While Gandolfini is amazing here and reminds us that we lost a great actor last fall, The Drop may mark the beginning of new career opportunities for his co-star Tom Hardy. Hardy, who received much critical acclaim for his work in this year's earlier release Locke, shows that he has what it takes to take him beyond action films and establish himself as a respected character actor. In The Drop, Hardy plays a bartender named Bob who was employed by his cousin Marv in an establishment that Marv used to own before he was forced to sell it to some Chechen gangsters. The new owners aren't interested in the day-to-day operations. Rather, their interest in the place is to use it as a temporary depository for their illegal money. All goes smoothly until one night the place is robbed and there is immediate suspicion that Marv was not only aware of it, but also engineered the entire thing. Thus, the robbery puts into play a series of events that has long-lasting consequences both for Marv and Bob, including deeply buried secrets they would both like to forget. While the plot seems straightforward, there are enough twists and revelations to keep even the most jaded viewer entertained. You really will have no idea how it ends. Gandolfini and Hardy show great on-screen chemistry, and the former embodies his role so naturally that at times it's easy to forget that he is acting. The Drop reminds us that when it comes to great crime drama, a big budget and impressive special effects aren't always necessary. Rather, great writing and talent are. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Kim Lowe. Catch up with us at TakeTwoMovieReview.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Take2_Review.
Soft gold favorites. WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And you're tuned correctly for the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. I'm your host, Tim Coco. Nathan E. Webster III is producing in Master Control. This hour of the Open Mic Show is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. Let's go right to the phones. I believe we have a special guest on the line. Is that right?
Well, I don't know how special I am.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to tell you, offer our heartfelt condolences of the entire crew here. The passing of your brother, I guess it was a couple weeks ago.
Well, we really appreciate that, and we really appreciate the support we got from the city of Haverhill and just our friends and family. It's amazing what happens. Who comes out to help you grieve, and it makes it a lot easier.
Now, we've been thinking about you. So Don J. was your brother's nickname.
Donald J. Yeah, we called him Don J. His nickname was Don J.
Right.
He loved to fish.
You know, it's funny, very young, 56, right?
Yeah, he just, it was his time. That's all I can tell you. But
well,
I do have a trivia question, and it's kind of... talking about the subject, I gave name some of the nine. There's 9 funeral homes and 1 in Plastow. All you have to do for $10 gift certificate is name 5 of them, and I'll give you a clue. One of them is the Brookside Chapel. So if you can name 4 others, you can win a $10 gift certificate from Kimball Tavern.
All right, so there's a great offer, and this one is pretty easy. Be the first person to name 5 out of 8 Haverhill funeral homes.
Yeah.
But you're allowing Plasto as well.
Well,
right?
yeah, I think there's 9. I think I gave him 8, and I just threw that one in Brookside. I'm going to give him a starter.
Well, I was looking at your list, and of course, as always, there's sort of a trick question in here.
Oh, is it? yeah.
Maybe,
well, you know.
Maybe offline we can talk about it.
Okay. Well, those come from Craig, so. Hey, but anyway, I saw Dan Malin coming out of Putnam's Variety with Ray Dennis the other night. The old Leo Caboni's up on 16th Ave.
Oh, okay, yes.
Dan, Joe, and Ray, they're old buddies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Dan Malin.
Yeah.
You know how many?
I think Dan Malin called me by mistake this week.
He did.
I think he was calling someone else.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know that would be interesting to find out how many variety stores there were in Haverhill back in the day.
You know, that would be fun. I bet that would be, well, if someone goes through the city directories, I'm thinking Marcel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she might do it. I hope she maybe she can get the answer to this trivia.
All right, so name 5 out of 8 Haverhill-based funeral homes, and you could win a $10 gift certificate to Kimball Tavern Antiques, the corner of Salem and South Main Streets.
Hey, I've got somebody that wants to say hi to you.
Oh, great.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah, this is an easy one.
All right, who do we have here?
It's Craig.
Oh, hi, Craig. How are you?
Pretty good.
Oh, you're giving out an easy one. Hey, we have a CD for you of some of your old open mic shows, and I can't wait to trade it for some more.
Can you play them over the air?
Yeah, actually, we'll go back through some of the clips. You know what? Depending on the time, we're kind of the all-request open mic show. Maybe I can pull some out right now.
Yeah. I'd like to hear some of them old ones over the air. Those were nice.
Oh, no, you had some good stuff in there, and it's...
Well, you know something? We got some good material. We got a lot of good material.
No, and there was some... Well, you kind of capture everything from Bill Pike to... what is her name? In between Bill Pike and Jack Bevilacqua. How soon we forget? The host. I'll think of her name in a minute. But anyway, but you have some good stuff on there. And you've been long-time supporters of the open mic show, probably almost as long as it's been on the air.
Lindsay Parker.
Lindsay Parker, that's right.
That's right, yeah. Lindsay and... he used to do the show, the Swap Shop, Saturday morning.
Oh, that's right.
What was his name? God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Bill, that was quite a show they had back then. I mean, you guys had Mr. Johnson.
A lot of the old-timers.
The old-timers, yeah.
I mean, used to be Tom Bergeron in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
We had Ken Spalding in the afternoons.
Yeah.
And then Ed Johnson would come on with news, then Bill Pike. And then most people have forgotten, but who came on after that, at least some of that time, was Tim Coco.
Tim Coco. And what about Mr. Christie? Was he up in Lawrence? Did he ever work for WHAV?
Yeah, Phil Christie worked for WHAV 2 different occasions. One in 1948, while still a student at Phillips Andover Academy. He did the all-request dancing party in 1948 on Saturday nights. And then, once he went to some of the big-time stations, he came back to WHAV, I think, in the 1960s. And I don't know what shift he had, but I think he probably had mornings.
I tell you, I was really attracted to, when I was a teenager, to broadcasting. I would listen to different channels, different people talking. I really wanted. It just didn't work out, but it was in my mind. That's what I wanted to do when I was a teenager. That's one thing I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do.
Hey, let me ask you this. This is kind of a dirty WHAV secret.
Yeah.
I'm told, and unfortunately, everyone who gives me the person's name changes it. So I think it was a Billy Wilson or a Danny Wilson on WHAV during the big rock era, the late 1950s. Do you recognize that name?
Dan Wilson. I remember somebody named Wilson. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know the first name.
But I guess he was one of the first to introduce. What were some of the names they used? Funny Tobacco.
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that.
You know what brings me to when you say Wilson, I'm thinking of Wilson Pickett.
Okay.
Well, he was quite a singer.
Oh, okay.
You remember him?
No, maybe. We play some of that, don't we?
Wilson Pickett. He was around 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, name one of his songs. I think we do play some.
Oh, God.
Well, that was the problem I was having earlier today. I'm working on a project, something I do every couple of years, and I just couldn't remember the names. And I'm like, what happened? I've done this I completely drew a blank. Had to email someone.
I think was that Tippy Wilson? Does that sound familiar, Tippy?
Yeah, see, Nate actually has access to the entire music library, but I don't know if he knows how to dig through it.
They call him Tippy too, and Tyler.
Oh,
Tippy.
Oh, but that was from something else. Let me look this up. All right, so it was Tippy Wilson.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Let me see what we get here.
Tip Wilson.
Well, that doesn't seem to be ringing a bell. How about? But you said Wilson Pickett?
Well, no, he was a soul singer. He wasn't on the radio station.
Okay, Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson Pickett. You know some of the songs he did.
Yeah, Wilson Pickett, In the Midnight Hour, Mustang
in the Midnight
Sally.
Hour. How did I forget that?
Land of a Thousand Dances. Isn't this internet amazing?
Yeah.
Because I can pretend like I know everything.
Are you guys are you on FM?
No, we've filed a petition. Actually, since you asked, this will be the first public announcement of it. WHAV was granted has been named a so-called tentative selectee to share time with the Catholic Church on the FM band. On Friday, we filed a protest with the Federal Communications Commission saying that only WHAV is promising to do the local programming that's required by this type of FM license. So we expect to hear within 30 days whether we're successful in holding the FM station alone or whether or not we're going to have to negotiate to share time with the Catholic Church.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's a very unusual decision.
Well,
one way or another, WHAV is going to be back on FM, the only FM station actually licensed to Haverhill, because the other FM station is no longer licensed to Haverhill.
Yeah, I haven't heard from Marcel. Has she called in?
I think Marcel actually left a message for us a couple weeks ago.
Oh, maybe she'll get on this trivia. But I just want to say, if my cousin Martin's out there, and Martin Smith, he's here from England, he's probably having supper with one of my brothers tonight. Him and his wife, Suzanne Martin, hope they have a safe journey back to jolly old England. They're leaving tomorrow. They've been here. They had planned a trip, and they happened to be here for my brother's funeral, so that kind of played into their little vacation. They were
it's nice to have relatives, especially from abroad.
Well, that's where my mom was from, England. My mom was a war bride, World War II.
Oh, okay.
So Dad got shot down. Dad got shot down in Guadalcanal, and spent some time out in Letterman Hospital out in San Francisco. And then 9 months later, they shipped him over to the biggest Air Force base in Europe during World War II.
Oh, I see. And actually,
he was a mechanic.
So, is this your
my dad,
Uncle Philip Smith from England?
Oh no, Philip. Well, Philip Smith, actually, yeah. How did you hear about him? That's my mom's brother.
Well, WHAV publishes obits as well, and so from your brother's funeral.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's Uncle Philip. That's Martin's dad.
I'm just looking through the names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aunt Shirley.
Shirley Downs.
Yeah.
Philip Smith of England.
Yeah.
And then you have nieces, nephews, and cousins in England.
Oh yeah. We got a lot of cousins, a lot of nieces. Actually, my mom had it's funny. My mom had an uncle.
And she was Joyce.
That was my mom.
Joyce Smith Wood.
That's right. My mom had an uncle, Richard Starkey. Does that name sound familiar to you?
Say again.
Richard Starkey.
It does, but I can't think of why.
Ringo.
What?
Ringo.
Oh, okay.
That was Ringo's name, but my mother had an uncle in England named Richard Starkey, not far from Liverpool.
What do you know about that?
Yeah, I know it. And we had another cousin. My mom had a Nigel. Nigel Daniels, his father. He played soccer for a professional team, and he was a goalie, I believe, and he ended up, I think he was a trainer for the MAC team at one time. And so that's a little history from the Smith family in England.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating, actually. This show is all about history, isn't it?
Yeah, and Nigel ended up in Australia. He went to play football, but he ended up with a horse farm.
Oh, gee, are you going to get a Checker Cab now that they're maybe available in Haverhill?
Oh, yeah, well, we just got the beach pizza from the Old Gazette tonight.
Oh, did you? Really? Okay.
I think Craig ate about 4 pieces.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea, but...
Well, he's starting to pack it on.
Yeah, well, look at me, so...
Yeah, well, okay. Him and Danjo's been down the beach, so he's still down there.
Oh, okay, good.
We can't get him out of the beach.
Well, the weather's been pretty good all in all, although I have to say it's a pretty dreary, rainy week we had last week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we really do appreciate your support, the support of the Kimball Tavern Antiques with your trivia question, a relatively easy one, I think. Name 5 out of 8 funeral homes in Haverhill and be the first to do it and win a $10 gift certificate. And you know what? If you don't mind, I'm going to stop down there again. Are you back to the old hours now that the construction's all done?
Well, we're supposed to be, but good help's hard to find, so we're trying to straighten the hours out.
I heard a rumor, although I probably shouldn't have mentioned it on the air, but I've started already, that a certain former open mic show host might be coming back again.
Oh, no kidding.
To the area.
Oh, Uncle Jack.
Yeah, so maybe he could use some hours down there.
Well, we'll give him a little plug. I think, what do they call his West End? He sells and buys and sells. West Coast something.
Oh, he has a name for that now?
Yeah, he has cards.
Oh, geez, okay.
East and West. It's something East and West and West and East.
And
something.
And how long has it? And never they shall meet? I don't know.
He's always looking for those old beer bottles. Those old beer.
That's right. That's right. He is. All right. Maybe he's listening tonight, and I'll have a comment or two.
Well, as long as he's not down the Shea one, drinking a cold one with Ed Putnam and Glenn.
Oh, geez, the old days.
The old Putnams. That'd be a crew.
Oh, boy. Yeah, we'll have to have a reunion sometime of these folks we keep mentioning, because I think some of our younger listeners and viewers think that these are just made-up characters, like the old Vic and Sade radio show.
Oh, no, these are real people.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
Squeaky Jones, Skeeter Fly.
Oh, that's right. You know what? After... we're already late for news. After that, maybe I'll pull out some of those clips.
And then Squeaky. That was Squeaky Jones.
Yeah. I think you or your brother came very close to identifying some of the real names behind those.
It was Brownowski, Brownie. Brownowski.
Right. I'm trying to see if I still have them on this computer. If not, I'll get them on it. Yeah, let's have some fun in a couple minutes. So,
all right.
Thank you very much, and we really appreciate your support.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. All right, so yeah, that's a good idea. If we can find them during the news break, we'll play some clips from we'll call it the best of the open mic, going back some 30, 40 years from tonight, and see what we find. But meanwhile, we'll be back with more of the open mic show after this late news, which I'll give a note on the air note to our producer. Let's combine it with Community Spotlight, and then we'll come back with the final 15 minutes of the open mic show.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the open mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8:10.
WHAV Merrimack Valley. WHAV is a not-for-profit service of Public Media of New England Incorporated. It's heard on 1640 AM, the web at whav.net, and participating cable television stations.
Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. U.S.-led coalition airstrikes against Islamic State fighters have failed to stop the militants' advance on the Syria-Turkey border town of Kobani. Reports say an ISIS flag is now flying outside the city center, where Kurdish forces have been engaged in fierce fighting with the well-armed jihadists. Reporter Hannah Lucinda Smith of the Times newspaper in Britain is on the Turkey-Iraq border.
That follows a really heavy night of gunfighting last night. Also, the town is still coming under attack from artillery. The Islamic State has positions to the east, to the south and the west of Kobani. And of course, the town is bordered by the Turkish border on the northern side.
The U.S. Supreme Court has decided against hearing the appeals by 5 states to overturn the legalization of gay marriage. And that means that effectively same-sex marriage will be legal in 30 American states. U.S. correspondent Priscilla Huff reports.
The U.S. Supreme Court will not hear 5 appeals cases which apply to 11 states. Lower federal courts had ruled that same-sex couples have the same fundamental and constitutional right to marry. The cases were appealed to the nation's highest court, but the 9 justices turned them down, which means the lower court rulings stand, effectively legalizing same-sex marriage in 11 states, bringing the total to 30 of 50 American states. The U.S. Supreme Court issued their decision without explanation, surprising many. It appears America's highest court is just going to allow same-sex marriage to become the law of the land without the justices getting actively involved. Priscilla Huff, Washington.
A teenager in the U.S. city of Chicago has been arrested after he allegedly attempted to leave the U.S. to join the ranks of Islamic State fighters. Mohammed Khan was arrested at O'Hare International Airport and charged with attempting to provide material support to a terrorist organization. Kevin McAleese has more.
The White House initially said it wasn't aware of the arrest of 19-year-old Mr. Khan, who was held by Chicago's FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force on Saturday. As he appeared before a federal court, prosecutors said the Illinois teen had booked a flight to Istanbul in a bid to join up with ISIS militants in Syria or Iraq. Security experts believe dozens of US citizens may already be fighting alongside the Sunni extremists. If found guilty, Khan could face up to 15 years in prison. Kevin McAleese, Washington.
Presidential elections in Brazil are advancing to a second round after a close vote between left-wing incumbent Dilma Rousseff and her challenger, Senator Aécio Neves. Analysts say Brazil's economic struggles are driving many voters. For the rest of the day's news, you can follow us on Twitter at Feature Story or check out our website at featurestorynews.com. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Here's what's happening in local news. The Haverhill City Council on Tuesday will consider a proposed compensation plan under a so-called development agreement with a company planning to install an electronic billboard along Interstate 495 at the Ward Hill Business Park. According to city documents, the negotiated agreement between the city and Lamar Central Outdoor LLC calls for placement of an electronic billboard at 145 Ward Hill Avenue overlooking the interstate highway. The city would be allowed to post public service announcements on the billboard for city-sponsored events. In return, the city would receive annual payments of $25,000 the first 4 years to be paid up front. Beginning in year 5, annual payments would be increased at a rate of 2.5% until a total of $780,000 in impact fees is paid. Plans for the electronic billboard have been approved by the city's Board of Appeals, pending the city's approval of the mitigation cost agreement. The Haverhill City Council meets at 7 p.m. Tuesday in the council chambers at Haverhill City Hall. Haverhill City officials celebrate the completion of one construction project and the start of another within a downtown block. Haverhill Mayor James J. Fiorentini and others will be on hand for a ribbon-cutting ceremony to celebrate the completion of an exterior renovation project at the Haverhill Citizens Center on Welcome Street. According to a spokesperson for the mayor, he will be joined by Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas and other dignitaries for the ceremony at 10 a.m. Tuesday at the Citizens Center. Meanwhile, Mayor Fiorentini was joined by Representative Brian S. Dempsey of Haverhill and others Friday for groundbreaking ceremonies marking the start of a makeover project at the adjacent GAR Park. Fiorentini said on Facebook, "The park is a gateway to the city, and the park rehab project will be within the newer 40-year-old section of the park, which was created under the Urban Renewal Program. The historic portion of GAR Park, dedicated to the city's veterans dating back to the Civil War, will remain untouched. A Lawrence man is facing charges from Haverhill police for allegedly operating a stolen motorcycle. Haverhill police report 18-year-old Brandon Lamardo of Lawrence was arrested at 6:30 p.m. Sunday on Jackson Street at the intersection of High Street. He is charged with receiving a stolen motor vehicle, operating without a helmet, operating without a license, and an excessive exhaust noise violation. He is due to be arraigned in Haverhill District Court. In sports, WHAV's Nate Webster has this week's NASCAR race recap.
Several chase hopefuls found themselves on the wrong side of the contender round cutoff line after having bad days at Kansas Motor Speedway. Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. all have some ground to make up at Charlotte and Talladega to stay in the chase and make it to the eliminator round. Joey Logano is your winner at Kansas. Rookie Kyle Larson came in second and is happy about his day at the track.
Yeah, we were good all weekend long. There were some crazy restarts there at the beginning. We almost got collected, and it was a good race. I thought me and Joey were dead even there at the end. So good finish. We'll get some wins here soon, hopefully before the end of the year.
The 16 car of Greg Biffle spun sideways, but saves it. He would get into the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, lap 85, sending the six-time champ into the inside wall and into a hole in the chase standings. Jeff Gordon has problems on pit road when a tire rolls out of his pit box. Gordon serves the penalty and gets sent back to the end of the line. The 4 car of Kevin Harvick pits for a strange feeling from his right front tire. His crew changes all 4, but after review, the tire was not going down. Your top 10 on the day were Logano, Larson, Kyle Busch, Truex, Edwards, Newman, Hamlin, Austin Dillon, Paul Menard, and Brian Vickers. For Race Recap, Nate Webster, WHAV Sports.
Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmel.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. We're looking for increasing clouds headed through the night with a temperature down in the low 50s. We're going to go into Tuesday with cloudy skies, scattered showers. Still, though, it's going to be mild, even though we're not expecting any sunshine, a high of 70. Scattered showers will continue through Tuesday night with a low in the upper 50s. And then on Wednesday, showers will be ending. We'll get some afternoon sun. It'll be breezy, continued mild with a high in the low 70s. Mostly sunny and cooler Thursday with a high in the low 60s. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
Phil Christie here. Did you know you can hear comedy and drama every night? Listen to these remastered classics at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Only local radio can bring you this combination of music, news, and features. But only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight.
The Haverhill Public Library is having a Halloween film screening Monday, October 27th at 6:30 p.m. The film is called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The film is a tale of an alien invasion rated PG-13. For questions about this event, call the Haverhill Public Library at 978-373-1586. Someone You Know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news at whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Martha Melendez.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Mic Show is back. This hour of the Open Mic Show being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. We may be able to play a cut from an Open Mic Show with, let's see if I can find it, some names, Squeaky Squeaky may be on in a moment. But what's this Maverick? I'll have to take a look at that. But let's go to the phones first. You are on the Open Mic Show.
I heard my name. I had a call.
Yes. Well, everyone loves to talk about you, Marcel, in the nicest possible way, since you're the champion of trivia prizes on the Open Mic Show. Didn't know if you wanted to take a stab at the latest one.
Oh, yeah. First I had a birthday, though.
All right, let's do birthdays for November, I'm assuming.
Yeah, just one person.
All right.
Her name is Sophie, and I believe she's going to be 101.
Sophie, 101.
Yeah, and last year when I called her, she was still driving.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you have young friends. That's good. All right, Sophie, happy birthday. When is Sophie's birthday?
November 4th, voting day.
Oh, November 4th, voting day. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We'll add Sophie's name to the list, and we'll draw at the last Monday of the month for a great 7-inch cake, chocolate or vanilla, from LBD's Second Generation Italian Bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. All right. What else is on your mind, Marcel?
Let me try these things here. Did he mean ones that are in existence now or that were in Haverhill at one time?
I think he means now, although I think we could have a lot of fun discussing the ones that used to be here.
All right, because I had a heck of a time trying to remember Eleanor's maiden name, and now I don't need it.
Oh, okay. Well,
that was, and it isn't now.
Okay, that's right. There's a successor name there.
All right, so if you want present ones, let's see, we got Farmers.
All right, you got one.
He already gave Brookside and Plastow.
Okay.
Now, Scaramucci used to be alone, but I think they're with Rogers now.
Okay.
So they're like together.
Yeah, now I don't know how to grade that. Is that 1 or 2? All right, go on.
Well, I thought Como was alone, but I think he joined Berube now.
Well, there's actually 2 different ones. So there's a that's a good question. We were just discussing this. Is it Berube or Berube? Como.
Well.
But there's also another Como.
Evan, yeah.
But anyway, I think you got him. You got it here because you have. Let's see. Depending on how we count, this is why I said earlier this is almost a trick question because it's Scatamaccia and Rogers. Now Rogers Scatamaccia, but I just checked them out, and now it's Rogers Carnivale.
Oh, that's a new one. Well, we got Dole, Charles, and Shaw.
Oh, so you're just going to keep going with this, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. And we got Linehan.
That's right. Now it's known as what? What?
Is that enough?
Oh, yeah, you've won. No question about it.
Go through the whole list.
All right, but I was just curious. Actually, but, I thought we don't have a lot of time, but when he raised this question, I thought, it might be fun to talk about some of the old ones, like N. Power O'Connor. That is now Como Funeral Home on Main Street.
Oh, yeah, he had a bit of a problem, the former owner.
That's right. N. Power O'Connor. Well, it goes back to Nicholas Powers, and of course, when it goes down the mother's side, they had to kind of way to keep the name there, so they
hyphenated.
Yeah, so they did. Nicholas Powers, and then they named Nicholas's son Power, I think, to move the last name into the first name, and Power O'Connor, and. But what's interesting about that, I did a history of them once, and that started out as a storefront funeral place on, I think, Winter Street. And back in the day, by now about 140 years ago, if you were having a funeral, you'd go to a store and you'd pick up all the things you need and bring them home.
Oh.
So that was the day and age of storefront funeral parlors.
I guess it was cheaper that way.
Yeah, actually, it probably was. Now that you mention it, so yeah, that was an interesting one. And of course, John Linehan with Linehan. Now it's Grondin, Linehan Grondin. John passed away, but he was pretty big with the Small Business Administration and the Kennedy administration. But no, I think that's a great topic for another night. Maybe we'll do a Haverhill Heritage series on it.
Then you'll be able to put in the Curtin home too.
That's right. You were referring to Eleanor Curtin.
Yeah.
That became part of Rogers, and Scatamaccia became part of Rogers, and now it looks like it's called the Rogers Carnival, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
When that happened.
Yeah, that only in the last couple of weeks, because WHAV puts obituaries on its website, and that came across my desk. So it's very interesting. Well, Marcel, always good to hear from you. This was an easy one. So you win a $10 gift certificate from our friends at Kimball Tavern Antiques, corner of Salem and South Main Streets.
Well, I thank the Wood Brothers.
All right. Well, I think they miss you. That's why they want to make sure you called. So it's good. What did you think of our Checker Cab story? Did you hear that?
I heard part of it. I was eating. I'm a latecomer tonight.
Oh, all right. Well, a company in Haverhill is going to be offering either help for people who want to buy a Checker Cab or need parts for one or want to have one appraised. It's pretty neat that that's in Haverhill.
Those must be pretty valuable.
Yes, it sounds like they would be. We didn't get into prices, but that's a good question, so we'll follow up on that. All right, well, we have another caller, so we really appreciate your call.
Okay, good evening.
All right, good night. Take care.
Bye.
All right, is that on your line? Okay, so you are on the Open Mic Show.
Hello, Tim.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm okay. It's a birthday time again.
It's birthday, actually. Your person won last month, right?
Yeah, she did.
That's right, Tatiana, right?
Tatiana, right. And so I can still call one in for now, right?
Yeah, that'll be
November.
For November, yes, you may.
Because I call her in every year, Christine.
Christine.
Well, I just call her Chris.
Chris. When is Chris's birthday?
The 22nd.
The 22nd. All right, I think we'll end up with about 30 days in between, so you're eligible.
And she won a couple of years ago.
All right, see.
Back in the Emily Bakery days.
Oh, I know. Over the years, we've had, Emily's? We had, oh boy, I shouldn't have started that. What's the name of the other one we had?
Oh, Sweet Things.
Sweet Things. Oh, yeah. Good. Thank you for saving me. Sweet Things Bakery.
Because I'd forgotten that before, too, and then somebody reminded me.
That's a tough business. It's a tough business,
sure
but
it is.
We wish the best to LBD's second-generation Italian bakery. See how we worked in a sponsor right there?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your call.
Wait a minute.
What?
No, I was yakking on the phone, so I didn't, hear a big chunk of the show there, and I'm curious what the question was that Marcel just won on.
All right. The question was, how many funeral homes in Haverhill? Actually, name 5 out of 8 of the funeral homes in Haverhill.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
past and present too. Or,
well, that wasn't clear, but either way, she got them.
Because I wonder how many people remember the Keyser Webster Funeral Home.
Ooh, that name sounds familiar. What was it, Summer Street?
Yeah, on the corner of Summer and Chestnut.
Why do I know that?
I don't know, because you're kind of young for that.
I know that. I don't know how I know that.
There was an adolescent psychologist in there, and then Randy Bennett, CPA, was in there for a number of years. Then he told me he sold it. He's downtown now.
That's right, 150 Summer.
And I don't know what's in there now.
Terry Beaton, Beaton Management's in there.
Yeah?
Oh, that's right. Wow. You know, every day, every show we have, there's like something that I want to go do some research on.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And David Goudsword is good behind-the-scenes research.
David, yeah, actually, he does a lot of it. He's done quite a few good stories out there, like the Duncan McDougall, The Weight of Souls. He also wrote the headline for the, because I'm going to screw it up now, the Mysterious Mostly Missing Monument to Hannah Dustin.
Yeah.
And things like that. Hey, you're going to get a Checker Cab?
I remember years ago, Town Taxi had 1 or 2 of those.
Town Taxi. You know what? That's another story in the making. I remember there was Laponius had a taxi cab company, and there was B&M. There was
Sal Rowe.
Oh, right. Sal Rowe was Laponius, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. And then there was City Cab.
Oh boy.
Town Taxi.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to work on that.
Okay.
All right, then.
One thing I wanted to mention, though, is, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's, I think, Stop Domestic Abuse Month, or You know, one thing that I haven't heard mention of this year is it's also National Disability Awareness Month.
Oh, why don't you tell us something about this?
Well, I just wanted to squeeze that in real quick. That's you know, everybody's got a month, right? So.
All right, and so this month is associated with 3 different groups.
Oh, at least.
At least.
Probably more than that, because we also have the National White Cane Safety, which is confusing because there's a safety day in May and then I think a whole week in November.
Oh, okay. All right, so Disabilities Month. What else?
Breast Cancer Month.
Breast Cancer Awareness.
And stop domestic violence or abuse against women or something like that.
Okay, actually, I'm glad you mentioned, because next week, Community Action is having a, I got to think if I can find the name of it now, because we had it on our website, a gun violence evening at the Citizen Center. I think it's next Wednesday night. And I think it's on our community spotlight page. Let me take a quick look. Well, now it must be on our local page. But in any event, that's going to be next Wednesday at the Citizen Center. I think it's 7, but I'll ask people to check our website. There'll be some interesting guest speakers. So quite a bit. And I see your comments coming in now, I think, from David. So let's see what he has to say. Oh, with all the interest in making Massachusetts a film center, having a spare checker cab or 2 for rentals might be a side business for them. Well, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Also got an email saying that I'm almost over my minutes on my phone.
Okay.
Not this phone.
Not this one, no.
All right. Well, Brian, I think we're out of time, but thank you for closing off the show in good fashion.
All right, then.
Thank you so much.
See you in a couple of weeks. Holiday.
That's right. Next one. I'm glad you said that. Nate's been trying to get me to say it all night, and I keep forgetting. Yeah, that's right. We're off next week. We'll have a repeat, a best of. If you have a favorite, let me know.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, it looks like that's going to wrap up the open mic show. We're in the bonus show time, so let's join us again in 2 weeks. We'll have some real fun then, too. So we'll be back then.
Open mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic Show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic Show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.
It's 8:33.
Would you like to hear the wave on your stereo, or even better, anywhere in your home? Check out the tips for better sound at www.whav.net.
Wave weather.